Welcome to Cruising Voyager. This is an overview video of a trip Voyager made from Palmetto, Florida to Clinton, Connecticut in the summer of 2023. The trip is comprised of 25 cruise segments, each of which has a dedicated video for those interested in seeing the entire journey and chart plotter overlay. In this video, we will just touch upon the highlights of this nearly 1,800-mile journey. Before we begin, a bit about Voyager. She is a 1979 Hatteras 43 double-cabin motor yacht. Her details are here and in the description below. We have owned her since 2016 and been making improvements to her slowly for years. Here is a summary of what we did in preparation for this and future trips. Her engines have been gone through and performed perfectly on this trip. Aside from a minor exhaust leak and a small oil leak in the pressure-sending unit line, we had no issues. Her electronics have been updated with all the latest from Garmin, with the exception of the forward sonar, which went in and out of service until it failed completely. We have nothing but great things to say about the Garmin equipment. Lastly, we added a lithium house battery bank with 2-kilowatt inverter to power the essential loads, so we didn't have to run the generator. Primarily, we used it to power the fridge and Starlink while underway and at anchor. Here is a diagram for the system I created when installing it. It would take a dedicated video to explain it, but there are enough of those on YouTube already. We also added cameras forward and aft, in addition to the engine room. The video in the series is largely from the forward camera. We use 2 iPads on the flybridge while driving. One is a mirror of the Garmin chart plotter, while the other shows Aquamap as a backup for navigation. Here is the path we took. This map was created using an application I created for taking track data recorded by the chart plotter and displaying the depth profile and coordinates in Google Maps. You can use it with your own track data by heading to gps-x.com. Now that the preliminaries are done, let's get underway. This is Riviera Dunes Marina in Palmetto, Florida. Voyager has called her home since we bought her, and after this venture north, she will return to her slip at this excellent marina. On this first day of the journey, we will depart just before sunrise and head west to the mouth of the Manatee River. We then turn south and follow the intracoastal waterway between Anna Maria Island and Bradenton to Sarasota Bay. We then continue to Venice until arriving at our destination in Englewood, Florida. I took this photo of Voyager just before departure, then enjoyed some pre-dawn lightning in the distance while waiting on my crew for the first 4 days of the journey, Captain John Easley. John is an experienced training and delivery captain whose contact information can be found below. After years of preparation, we are underway. It will be several days before I feel confident that this 44-year-old Hatteras is going to make the distance. I look back for a final photo of Riviera Dunes, as it will be some time before we return. After this third bridge, there is just open water until the mouth of the river. We turn left and pass below the Anna Maria Island Bridge. Sarasota Bay is rather uninteresting, particularly on this overcast morning. Eventually, we see downtown Sarasota. For bridges lower than our air draft, we contact them on VHF Channel 9. We try to time our arrival for those that open on a fixed schedule. For those who have not followed the ICW, you may wonder about the channel markers. Unlike the traditional red right return rule on the ICW, you keep the red markers on the side of the main landmass, so they will be on our port side until Virginia. ICW markers are identified by the yellow square or triangle, which, believe it or not, do not always correspond to the marker shape. So yes, you can find a yellow triangle on a green square marker. Venice Inlet is off the starboard bow as we pass by this popular spot for boats to gather and enjoy the sun, now that it is out. Just south of Venice, we find ourselves in this canal, a common view along the ICW. We turn to our port and arrive at Royal Palm Marina in Englewood after nearly 8.5 hours of travel over 59 miles. We hail them on VHF and cell phone, but there is no reply. We pull up to a dock and go in search of the dockmaster. Eventually, we are assigned a slip, relocate the boat, and eat dinner at the restaurant, which turns out is the best part of this marina. Here is the summary for day 1. Fortunately, this was the least favorite marina for the entire journey. By the way, we make slip reservations usually 2 or 3 days ahead of our expected arrival using one of 2 apps or using the marina's website. This worked very well, and most marinas were very flexible about changes due to delays, etc. On day 2 of the journey, we travel from here to Sweetwater Landing Marina in Fort Myers. It's a bit tricky getting out of this slip as it's low tide and quite shallow not far from the pilings on our left. It's a much nicer weather day, and we will enjoy dolphins along the way, so let's get underway. I mentioned the iPad displays we use on the flybridge at the beginning. Here is what they look like. On the left, we have a mirror of our chart plotter located on the main helm below. This is also how we are able to capture a recording of the chart plotter using the Active Captain application from Garmin. On the right, we use a similar live view of Aquamap. We do not have recordings of that display, So this is a simulation of what it looks like. Aquamap is also capable of providing depth display, etc., as it picks up the information broadcast over Wi-Fi from our NMEA network. It is in this area we were visited by some dolphins, who routinely jump alongside, on the bow, and even just aft of the boat as we motor along. This area is called the Miserable Mile, due to it being a narrow, slow speed zone with lots of traffic. We finally pass by Fort Myers as we travel under several bridges, nearing our destination just up the Caloosahatchee River. We have arrived at Sweetwater Landing Marina and are very happy to tie up on this end dock. We check in and eat dinner at the excellent restaurant, discuss the day and the plan for tomorrow's 3 locks on our way to Lake Okeechobee. Today will prove to be one of the best of the journey. It begins with an absolutely stunning sunrise and ends at the fabled Roland Martin Marina with 3 locks in between. Let's get underway. I will play this next segment at normal speed. You're welcome. We had to wait a bit for the Franklin lock to begin operation for the day. The green light indicates we are free to enter and lock through. The procedure is as follows. John ties a forward line, then an aft line. I shut down the engines and take the aft line as John returns forward. Once the door behind us is shut, the one ahead opens, causing the level in the lock to rise. We take up the slack in the lines to accommodate the change in level. Once the doors are near fully open, I tie off the aft line and start the engines. When the doors are fully open, John releases the forward line, then the aft, allowing me to pull away from the lock wall and exit. We pause briefly while exiting the lock to allow a manatee to get clear. Golden Lady is apparently in a hurry to get to Roland Martin. She will pass us again tomorrow after crossing the lake, thankfully more slowly. We've arrived at Roland Martin Marina in Clewiston. We pass Golden Lady on our way to the fuel dock and meet Sam in the red shirt and hat. Sam is a legend. We refuel and he tows us into position for the night just before a thunderstorm hits. We eat dinner in view of the boat at their excellent restaurant, review today, and discuss our plan for tomorrow. It's travel day 4 of 25, and we're departing Roland Martin Marina and headed for Safe Harbor Harborage Yacht Club in Stuart. It's a 58-mile trip that will take around 8.5 hours on this final day with John as crew. We will cross Lake Okeechobee and transit our last 2 locks in Florida today, so let's get underway. We are treated to another spectacular sunrise as we depart for Stuart. We back up and then spin to head through the Clewiston Lock and toward the lake. Our crossing of Lake Okeechobee couldn't have been better, even with the sun directly in our eyes for a bit. John likes to tell a story about this object in the lake on our port side. Allegedly, this concrete structure was used to hide a UFO crash site by the government. In reality, it's a water pumping station for Clewiston. As you will notice, there was no level change at the Port Mayaka lock. We found it curious it was in operation and not just left open. The lockmaster mentioned he was trying to flush the lock contents by keeping it in operation. I suppose that makes sense to someone. We were told on the radio to dock next to the catamaran. Apparently, this is not the one they meant. We turn around and find that just inside the marina on the right is where they intended us to go. We have arrived at Safe Harbor Harborage Yacht Club in Stuart, Florida. It was a great day of travel, including our last lock until we reached the Great Bridge Lock in Virginia, just before we come to the end of the Intracoastal Waterway. Brother Phil and his son Ethan will arrive shortly to relieve John. If you need a delivery or training captain, you can find John's contact information in the description. I cannot recommend him more highly. It's travel day 5 of 25, and we're departing Safe Harbor Haveridge Yacht Club and headed for Fort Pierce City Marina. It's a short trip of only 30 miles and will take us less than 5 hours. Phil and Ethan are on board for this first of 4 segments they will crew, so let's get underway. We get a later start today, but I still managed to get a sunrise photo of Voyager at this fine marina. Here, we turn the corner to head up the coast. It's another good weather day, yet the view from here to Fort Pierce is much the same. Just before this bridge, we turn into the Fort Pierce City Marina. We have arrived at Fort Pierce City Marina. We fueled up before backing into our slip, then checked in and enjoyed dinner at the excellent restaurant at this great marina. It's travel day 6 of 25, and we're departing Fort Pierce City Marina and headed for Titusville Municipal Marina. It's a 59-mile trip that will take us just over 10 hours, so let's get underway. We suffer through another sunrise view upon departure. We get caught by the edge of a rainstorm before going under the Addison Point Bridge, where the NASA Causeway drawbridge is being dismantled. We arrive at the Titusville Municipal Marina. It's a nice marina, just off the Indian River, while not quite as nice as Fort Pierce. There is no restaurant at the marina, but there is food within walking distance. Tomorrow, we are off to Palm Coast. It's travel day 7 of 25, and we're departing Titusville Municipal Marina and headed for the marina at Hammock Beach Resort in Palm Coast. It's a 75-mile trip that will take us 9.5 hours, so let's get underway. Daytona offers a number of bridges, if nothing else. Otherwise, this day is much the same as the rest along the east coast of Florida. It's easy to navigate and offers some nice views. Observant viewers will notice our fenders are stowed and we're about to pull up to a floating dock. Oh well, we get them down just after we tie up. We have arrived at Hammock Beach Resort Marina in Palm Coast. It's a great facility, as it is a resort after all. I spend the evening mending a small exhaust leak, thanks to some extremely helpful advice from a Detroit diesel group on Facebook. Tomorrow, we head to Jacksonville. It's travel day 8 of 25, and we're departing the marina at Hammock Beach Resort and headed for Wynwood Beach Marine in Jacksonville. It's a 64-mile trip that will take us nearly 7 hours, so let's get underway. There will undoubtedly be commentary about this maneuver. What did I say earlier about channel markers on the ICW? Fortunately, there was plenty of depth on the wrong side of the marker too. St. Augustine provides interesting views and some currents near the inlet. This pontoon boat is being piloted by a seasoned captain. The race to the bridge and then come to a near-stop maneuver is always a crowd pleaser. Air horn operational check complete. We have arrived at Wynwood Beach Marine in Jacksonville. It is here we will say goodbye to Phil and Ethan and welcome Dewey on board to continue the journey all the way to Connecticut. We will spend an extra day in Jacksonville for this crew exchange and to perform some minor maintenance before continuing north to Brunswick, Georgia. It's travel day 9 of 25, and we're departing Wynwood Beach Marine and headed for Brunswick Landing Marina in Brunswick, Georgia. It's a 72-mile trip that will take us 8.5 hours. There are plenty of twists and turns along the way, along with some shallow spots, so let's get underway. The Jacksonville Free City dock is just on our left. If you're wondering about the strange movements in our heading, amplified by the sped-up camera view, it's mostly the engagement of our autopilot. This favorite piece of equipment makes a trip of this duration far more enjoyable, but when you activate the follow route, it is rather aggressive in getting you to the route. We learned to get as close to the route line on the chart as possible before engaging the autopilot. We also use the follow heading mode quite a bit, which is where having the remote control will come in handy. If you think this stretch of water looks shallow, you would be right. The depth meter read as low as 1.8 feet below the keel in one spot, but we managed. We will not likely go through here at low tide again. Our only interaction with the Coast Guard for the trip came just before this bridge. A red jerry can was floating in the water, so they hailed us to ask if it was ours. It was a curious exchange, as the can was ahead of us both when we first saw it. Nevertheless, they were quite courteous, and as Navy veterans, Dewey and I replied respectfully, then may have had a laugh or two later on about the encounter. We have arrived at Brunswick Landing Marina. We paused at their fuel dock to find they had no operating fuel pumps, then made our way to the slip. The facilities at this marina are excellent, although it is a fair distance from the ICW. It's travel day 10 of 25, and we're departing Brunswick Landing Marina for an anchorage on the Herb River in Thunderbolt, Georgia. It's a very long 102-mile trip that will take us nearly 13 hours, but will end with some unexpected fireworks, so let's get underway. As we wait our turn to fuel up at Isle of Hope Marina, we notice a large catamaran struggling to make it to the dock. We aren't sure if they're having some mechanical issues or if it's just inexperience. Either way, it provided some mild entertainment as we wait. Judging by the number of fenders on her port side, I think we have our answer. We turned down the Herb River just off the ICW to anchor for the night after a very long day of travel. In the evening, we are suddenly joined by dozens of small boats who anchor all around us. As it turns out, there is a local fireworks display in celebration of 4th of July, one night early. A perfect ending to our day. It's travel day 11 of 25, and we're departing our anchorage in Thunderbolt and headed for another anchorage in Church Creek, South Carolina. It's another long trip of 97 miles that will take us 11 hours, so let's get underway. You can tell Dewey is retired Navy. He is one squared-away sailor. Dewey is also the chief photographer on board. On the trip, he managed to take over 4,300 photos and 688 videos. As a submariner, it's not surprising he stopped at 688, having served aboard 3 Los Angeles-class boats in his career. We set the anchor in this perfect spot just off the ICW and enjoy dolphins jumping all around. Later, will we see quite the lightning display after grilling our cheeseburgers for dinner. We conclude that while marinas are convenient, they don't quite compare to anchoring out. It's travel day 12 of 25, and we're departing our anchorage in Church Creek and headed for Harbor Walk Marina in Georgetown, South Carolina. It's an 88-mile trip today that will take us 11 hours, during which we will see some of the most shallow water yet, so let's get underway. If you look to the right, you will notice some smoke rising from that private dock. As we get closer, we try to figure out what it is and conclude it may be from a lightning strike the night before. Here's another tip for using the autopilot. If your trip gets out of sync with your planned daily routes, be sure to quit the first segment and switch to the next before you spend too much time going the wrong way. In this case, we head toward a marina in Charleston for a bit before realizing we shouldn't be, then turn around and pick up the next route. We have arrived at Harbor Walk Marina in Georgetown, South Carolina. This is a great little marina just off the ICW. It's a little shallow getting in, so you have to stick to the far right. We eat dinner at a great restaurant in this nice little town. Definitely a stop we will make again. It's travel day 13 of 25, and we're departing Harbor Walk Marina and headed for Safe Harbor, South Harbor Village in Southport, North Carolina. It's another long day of 94 miles that will take us 11 and a half hours, so let's get underway. We have arrived at Safe Harbor South Harbor Village Marina. We will be here for an extra day to perform engine oil changes and some other maintenance. This is a great marina with a very helpful staff, not to mention excellent restaurants. We used Instacart for the first time to replenish our supplies and will definitely use it again. It's travel day 14 of 25, and we're departing Safe Harbor South Harbor Village and headed for an anchorage just off the ICW in Swansboro, North Carolina. It's a 83-mile trip that will take just over 10 hours on a beautiful weather day, so let's get underway. We have anchored securely in Swansboro, North Carolina, just off the ICW. It's a little busy here, but calms down nicely after sunset and makes for a very nice anchorage. It's travel day 15 of 25, and we're departing this anchorage in Swansboro and headed for Belhaven Marina. It's a 92-mile trip that will take us 10 hours, arriving just before some very bad weather, so let's get underway. We have arrived at Belhaven Marina and Dock, just in front of a nice little Nordhaven. The marina strives to provide the best service on the ICW, and it shows. We fuel up right at the dock before getting hit by quite the storm, which apparently convinced everyone to close up shop on this Sunday afternoon. It's travel day 16 of 25, and we're departing Belhaven Marina and headed for Alligator River Marina. It's only a 55-mile trip today that will take us 6 hours, but leave us well positioned to cross the Albemarle Sound the following day. So let's get underway. We contact the Alligator River Bridge for an opening and are asked for our documentation number. This is the only bridge on the entire journey to ask for it, so have it ready. Normally, a bridge tender will only ask you for your vessel name. We have arrived at Alligator River Marina, which is basically a gas station with a dock. This isn't to say it's not a great place to stop, as it has easy fueling and is directly off the ICW. Most importantly, it gives us a perfect jumping-off point in the morning for crossing the Albemarle Sound. It's travel day 17 of 25, and we're departing Alligator River Marina and headed to the fabled Coinjock Marina to enjoy some prime rib for dinner. It's only 36 miles and will take just 4.5 hours, beginning with a crossing of the Albemarle Sound. So let's get underway. We have arrived at our favorite marina of the trip in Coinjock, North Carolina. You can't ask for a more convenient marina while traveling the ICW, and you won't find a better marina to get a prime rib dinner. We refuel right at the dock and visit the store before enjoying both lunch and dinner at the restaurant here. Coinjock definitely lives up to the hype. It's travel day 18 of 25, and we're departing Coinjock Marina and headed to Safe Harbor Blue Water Marina in Hampton, Virginia. It's a 62-mile trip that will take almost 8 hours. We will transit our final lock and pass through Naval Station Norfolk, so let's get underway. Be sure to time your approach to the Great Bridge and lock carefully. When we went through the lock, it was only operating on the hour, which means we had to time our arrival at North Landing Bridge 1 hour before, and then get through the Centerville Bridge on the half hour to make it all work. Fortunately, it worked out perfectly. As we approach this target, we are wondering about her course intentions. We hear on Channel 16 a request for the white motor vessel to allow a starboard-to-starboard pass. Waypoint, the Fleming that has been behind us since Coinjock, replies instantly. Not knowing who initiated the call, and knowing Waypoint was quite a distance behind us, we assume it's taken care of, and then we hear another request and assume they mean us. We make a rapid course correction to port and are congratulated by the harbor pilot. We have arrived at Safe Harbor Blue Water Marina in Hampton, Virginia. It's a great marina with nice facilities and friendly staff. Here are some photos of the warships we saw in Norfolk. It's travel day 19 of 25, and we're departing Safe Harbor Blue Water Marina and headed for Summers Cove Marina in Crisfield, Maryland. It's a 78-mile trip that will take nearly 8.5 hours. It's our first of 2 days on the Chesapeake, so let's get underway. I've switched to normal speed for this segment so that we can discuss that container ship that just changed course ahead of us. We've passed many large ships on this journey, but never one traveling at speed in open water before. Fortunately, I looked to the right in time to see the wake from this ship headed our way. I turn into it, and as they say, cameras never do justice to waves you see on the water. It's quite a splash, but all is well. If there's one thing we learned in the Navy, it was how to stow for sea. We have arrived at Summers Cove Marina in Crisfield, Maryland. This is a really nice marina with new floating transient dock, which for some reason is largely empty. The staff is great, and they provide us with their signature cake upon check-in. And of course, we had crab cakes at the nearby restaurant that evening. We end up staying here an extra day to let some bad weather pass by. This would be our third and final off day for the entire trip. It's travel day 20 of 25, and we're departing Summers Cove Marina for Knapp's Narrows Marina in Tilghman Island, Maryland. It's a 70-mile trip that will take about 6.5 hours in open water, so let's get underway. We arrived safely at Knapp's Narrows Marina at Tilghman Island, Maryland, despite Lucky Lady making a sketchy pass on our starboard side as we approached. It's another fantastic marina with great staff, particularly the dockmaster. It's travel day 21 of 25, and we're departing Knapp's Narrows Marina and headed for Schaefer's Marina in Chesapeake City, Maryland. It's a 73-mile trip that will take nearly 8.5 hours. We will be meeting the Admiral at Schaefer's, so let's get underway. We have arrived at Schaefer's Marina in Chesapeake City, Maryland. We fuel up before docking alongside the Canal House restaurant, which we will eat at shortly. The Admiral joins us after traveling by train to Wilmington, then an Uber to the marina. It's travel day 22 of 25, and we're departing Schaefer's Marina and headed for South Jersey Marina in Cape May, New Jersey. It's a 73-mile trip that will take over 8 hours, taking us through the C&D Canal and down Delaware Bay, so let's get underway. I'm not sure what happened here, but this boat off our starboard bow is hard aground. If that were an ICW marker, he would have been right to pass on that side, but not in this case. We hear Towboat US on the radio and will pass them just ahead. After a long and uneventful trip across Delaware Bay, we have arrived at South Jersey Marina in Cape May. There is plenty to see and do around this marina, which has a great store and facilities. It's travel day 23 of 25, and we're departing South Jersey Marina in heavy fog, headed for Hoffman's Marina East in Brielle, New Jersey. It's a 99-mile offshore trip that will take us 11 hours and end in rain. So let's get underway. The original departure plan was to simply pull out and turn to the port. However, as we moved forward, I could feel a current pushing us to the right, which then led to a change in plan to turn starboard and back out to the end of the thoroughfare. As with waves, the camera is deceptive in fog. Curiously, the camera view seems much better than what we see with our eyes. We were monitoring the radio and know that there is a boat inbound, so we decide to pause here momentarily. When we resume, we see the boat ahead and on AIS, just as a fishing boat cuts between us and passes on their starboard. We decide to follow suit, though it was all rather dodgy. After a foggy departure and rainy arrival, we have landed at Hoffman's Marina East in Brielle, New Jersey. We refuel in the rain and then make our way to our slip, where we remain for the night, so nothing more to report on this marina. It's travel day 24 of 25, and we're departing Hoffman's Marina East and headed for safe harbor Glen Cove Marina on Long Island. It's a 76-mile trip through New York Harbor that will take over 9 hours, so let's get underway. On our way back, weather will be the prime factor when planning our trip through New York Harbor. While still an amazing part of the journey, it would have been so much better in the sunshine. As we pass below the Triborough Bridge, now the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, we look to our starboard and wish Jen and Andy well, who live in Astoria. While they're not at home, we see their building as we pass by. We have arrived at Safe Harbor Glen Cove Marina on Long Island after another poor weather day, which made our view of New York Harbor a bit disappointing. It was still fantastic, mind you. This marina was also a bit of a disappointment, as it took some time before the dockmaster appeared to assign us a slip, which turned out to be in the worst dockage since our first night at Royal Palm Marina. But since we will be arriving at our final destination the next day, not much could dampen our spirits. It's our final travel day of 25, and we're departing Safe Harbor, Glen Cove Marina, and headed for Cedar Island Marina in Clinton, Connecticut. It's an 80-mile trip up Long Island Sound that will take 9.5 hours, so let's get underway. We have arrived at the entrance to Cedar Island Marina, but will continue past it. As luck would have it, a conference call that I cannot miss was scheduled at precisely our expected arrival. No worries, we will just continue to enjoy the cruise along the Connecticut coastline to delay our arrival. We have arrived at Cedar Island Marina in Clinton, Connecticut, after traveling nearly 1,800 miles over the past 25 days. In the final bit of luck on this trip, it turns out our transient slip at this marina is available to be leased for the remainder of the season. So this will be her new home for this season and the next. It was an incredible experience, and I would be remiss without saying a final thank you to the crew, Dewey, Phil, Ethan, and John. And here we have the final summary of the trip. I did not add up the food expense, but as you can see, taking a 44-year-old boat from the west coast of Florida to Connecticut consumes a bit of diesel fuel. We could have saved on marinas by anchoring more often, but I was interested in staying at many of these marinas I had heard about from other boaters on YouTube for years. Overall, it was a great experience, and I look forward to the return trip. I hope you enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative if you're a boater planning a similar journey.